Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today we are going to discuss the 15th Pauri of Japji Sahib. In last few weeks, we learnt about the four Pauris in which Guru Nanak Sahib talked about listening, and then the next four they are about accepting. As we discussed earlier too, listening and accepting are both complementary when we look into the meanings of Gurbani. So we will try to summarize it later on. Today we are on the fourth body of this set of acceptance. So Mannai, Paaveh, mokh, Duaar. We learned this earlier. Mannai means by accepting or through acceptance. So what is needed to be, what we are going to accept. So Japji Bani, the theme of this Bani, this composition by Guru Nanak is accept the Hukam. So, Hukam is the guidance which is being provided by our inner divine. So, when we accept the guidance of the inner divine, Mannai, what happens? Paaveh. Paaveh means find, to realize, to accomplish something. Mokh. Mokh is mukti, emancipation. Now, for thousands of years in Indian philosophy or Indian religions, especially, it was said that throughout life you are busy doing all kind of stuff, but the real mukti or emancipation or liberation comes when you die. And they suggested that you will be liberated only when you go to heaven. Otherwise you will be punished and you will fall into a circle of all those hells and all those incarnations. So according to them, emancipation, liberation, mukti or mokh was to get rid of the circle of coming into birth. Now, Sikhi or Gurmat does not believe in this. When we read whole of the Gurbani and we try to find the meaning or the theme of Gurbani or the Sikh philosophy, it does not agree with something about not coming into birth. So, on a lighter note, if we think that coming into this life is bad and we need some kind of liberation that we do not come into life anymore, that means there are few things which we are doing there in this kind of belief. The first thing is we are disrespecting life itself. That it's this is not what we want. We do not want to live. Second, we are disrespecting our parents, those who brought us into life. That my mother, my father, they are bad. They have brought us into life. I want liberation. I don't want to become a son or a daughter or a part of society or family at all. So again, if this is mukti, that you should not come into birth, and you that means human being a human is not a good thing, or being a living being is a not good thing. So a Sikhi or Gurmat does not believe in this. So throughout all these previous parties of Japji Sahib, we learnt an important thing about Gurbani, that Gurbani talks about emancipation or liberation or freedom from Kiv Kude Tutte Pal. That we have to, we are bonded, we are chained, or we are, shackled by those vices within: greed, hate, envy, jealousy, unending desires, and complaints, and all these stuff which it has chained us. We are not growing, we are not free. So if we are living in continuous greed, we are not totally free at all. If we are living in hate, anger, we are not free. So Gurbani talks about freedom from that inner negativity, the inner malice, the evil thoughts, the vices. So, Manna, once we start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, we find mokh Duaar. Duaar is door or path, the way towards liberation. See here, accepting the inner divine or the guidance of the inner divine, we find the path to inner liberation. Inner liberation, to liberate yourself from all that negativity, all those evil thoughts, evil mindedness, all those vices. So, when we get that inner wisdom, the divine wisdom, the guidance from within, and we accept it, then we find the path towards inner liberation, freedom, emancipation, mukti. The next line is Mannai Parvare Sadhar. Again, this word comes again and again in Gurbani. See, it's not about when we read some meanings of Gurbani on some phone apps or websites. It's not that they are wrong in English. Actually, what they have done, it's a literal translation of lines. Now, Gurbani is in poetry, and poetry cannot be translated. Poetry in itself, of in any language, you need to understand the underlying meaning of those lines. Similarly, if it's translated, it's not the meaning of those lines. Remember, it's the translation of those lines, and then even if you are reading it in English, that translation, you have to deduce the meaning. So in Gurbani, all we have to do is to find the underlying meaning of some words which are being used in Gurbani again and again. For example, in the previous line, it was mokh or mukti or emancipation or freedom. So it's not about the mukti which will happen after death. It's about the liberation or freedom which you need to achieve while you are alive. Similarly, in the second line, Mannai, when you start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, Parvar literally means family. Sadhar means one who gets support, or a ground. A ground for what? A ground for that path to inner liberation. Okay, as support. So that divine wisdom is the support which helps us uh, to get that liberation, that emancipation, that freedom from vices. So here, Parvare Sadhar. Now, if you read the literal translation of this line, is where once you accept, your whole family finds the support. So when it comes to family, we think family means my parents, my brothers and sisters, my children. It's not about physical family. Most of the time, when this word parvar or family comes in Gurbani, it's not about physical family. For example, those who are those who have a little bit knowledge of Sikh history, they know that the fourth Nanak, the fourth Guru, he had his youngest son was Guru Arjan, who became the fifth Nanak or fifth Guru. But his oldest son was Prithi Chand. Now, both the sons, they are family to Guru Ramdas, the fourth Nanak. So, although Baba Prithi Chand was born to a Guru who himself has attained this, Mannai Paaveh mokh Duaar, Guru Ramdas has got that, he surrendered to that inner divine. He was a disciple of Guru Nanak, and he himself became a guru who was teaching whole of the world to turn towards the inner divine and the guidance to liberate yourself from those vices. But his own very son, the oldest son Prithi Chand, although he learnt Gurbani, he was reading Gurbani from his maternal grandfather Guru Amar Das, as well as from his father Guru Ram Das. He never he never achieved this mokh duar. He was never free of hate. He was never free of jealousy. He was never free of the desire to achieve more and more wealth and power. As we all know, he was too much attached with the uh, acquiring power, to acquiring guruship, or to become like, to get the approval of people. And he wanted to become large or big or enormous, or he wanted to become the guru. And in his this kind of hunger for that power and position, he wanted to kill his own brother. He wanted to kill his brother's son, the sixth guru. So again, he although he was a family to the guru, but he didn't find that sadhar. He didn't find that ground of divine wisdom. He didn't realize that. That means he never turned inward. So it's not about outer family. Similarly, there are many shabads and lines in Gurbani where we say that when you do the right thing and you start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, you yourself are liberated, and then you also liberate your generations, your families, your friends. So it's not about outer, it's about the inner family. See here, Paravar hai, the inner family of my thoughts, my emotions, my senses. These senses are the eyes through which I see, the ears through which I hear, all of my senses. This is my family. So Sadhar gets the support, ground, root, or base towards mokh Duaar, towards liberation from the vices. So by accepting the guidance of the inner divine, whole of our inner family, our inner world, right? So we have discussed it earlier too. When it comes to world, it's the inner world. When it's come to family, it's the inner family. So the other day I was discussing Asa Diwar in another group. So Guru Nanak Sahib says, "Kood Miya, Kood Bibi, Khap Hoye Khar." When inside us there becomes a family. Kood Mia, Kood Bibi, husband and wife. When the vices itself, they become the husband and wife. Husband and wife, what they do? They create a family. So if we are so much infested with vices, if we are so much engrossed in all that negativity, what happens? They create a bigger family within us. All our senses, all our thoughts, all our emotions, they become a part of that family. So that family grows. If you uh, if you turn towards the inner divine and through the sadhar, the support of divine wisdom, what happens? You start creating a beautiful family of divine virtues within. So that parvar, that inner parvar, your mind, your intellect, your consciousness, it controls all your thoughts, emotions, and senses. So when you start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, our whole of our inner family, it finds real support within. It realizes the real support within, which is the Oankar, the creator within us, the divine self, who provides the real true guidance, who provides us with divine virtues. So that family we are talking about here. The next line is Mannai Tarai, one who accepts the guidance of the inner divine. Mannai Tarai. Tarai again a word used, but again it's a synonym here. I'll explain it. Tarai literally means one who swims across. So where we need to swim inside us. So inside us, when Gurbani says you have to swim across the ocean, Sagar. So Pav means world, Sagar means ocean. So our inner world, that inner world which is manifested with all those vices, that big ocean of vices within us, are we able to swim across it, to go through it to the other end where we get liberation from all of this this negativity of this cool? So Mannai Tare, one who accepts the guidance of the inner divine, Tare swims across, goes to the other side. And how it happens? Tare Gur Sikh. Gur Sikh, the wisdom of the Guru. Sikhya. Sikhya means instructions. Through the instructions of the Guru, they help us swim across the ocean of those vices. Manne Tare, one who accepts the inner divine. Tare is free, is liberated, is emancipated. Tare, who helps him? Who saves it? Gur Sikh, Guru's wisdoms. See? Guru's teachings or Guru's wisdom, Gur Sikhya, saves us by making us realize the importance of what importance? That manne tare. Once you start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, you will be liberated. You will find mokh Duaar. You will be liberated from all that inner negativity, all that inner malice, that cood, the trash of vices. And Guru Sikh, it helps us tare it makes us go through, it makes us to it helps us to reach the other part or to liberate ourselves from those vices. So Guru's teachings, Tare Gursikh, Guru's teachings saves us, helps us to realize the importance of Manne Tare. of accepting the guidance of the divine Hukam, of the inner divine, of the Onkar, Allah, Ram, Khuda, whatever we call, who lives within us, who provides us with true guidance. The next line is, so accepting the divine Hukam, we save ourselves from vices. Mannai Tare. So once we start accepting the divine Hukam, the guidance of the inner divine, we save ourselves from vices. Tar jande, we swim across. Mannai Nanak Paaveh na Pikh. This is very important. So, what's happening with all the religious rituals, whether it's reading scriptures, doing part, reading Gurbani, or reading any other scriptures in the world, because we all, in all religions and faiths, we believe that our religious book or holy book has been given by God. There's no doubt about it. God is one who lives in all. So, the divine wisdom which is being discussed is again, as we read in the Mool Mantra, Karta Purkh, the ability to do or create within us is by the virtue of that Onkar within us. So that God, that Lord, Allah, Ram, Khuda, Onkar, Vaheguru, who lives within us, has blessed us with the beauty of creation, ability of creation. And that gyan or wisdom which has been written in books is also the creation, or by the virtue of the creative powers of that creator within us. So our forefathers, our ancestors, like our gurus, who realized, who experienced their lives, who realized their self, they have provided us with this beautiful wisdom. So when we read Gurbani, we are actually turning towards our inner divine, the real Guru within us. But what happens when we say that all those outer religious rituals of reading Gurbani or scriptures, going to pilgrimages, doing all kind of worship, taking all kind of undertaking all kind of rituals, so after all that, what's in our mind, in back of our mind, is that I have to do prayers, I have to do worship, I have to do ardas to get something from that God or Vaheguru who lives up in the sky somewhere. Neeli Chhatri wala, one with the blue umbrella up above the clouds. So most of the times we are while reading the wisdom, we are more towards the ritualistic part of it, where we find that after doing this, where we think that after doing all these religious things while visiting gurdwaras, temple, churches, or pilgrimages, or reading some kind of spiritual text, so back of our mind is a desire that this will bring something what I want in my life miraculously. All my suffering will disappear miraculously. So we are begging for miracles in our life. Pek means, in this line, the pek word pek means to beg. So through after doing all kind of religious activities, actually we are begging. That means, as we have discussed earlier many times, that a person who's contented is a king. A person who has everything but is still discontented or dissatisfied is a beggar. So what happens? Overly attached with the outer world, the pain and pleasures of the outer world, all our religious activities, they make us more beggars. We are begging for, outer approval, outer achievements, and that's why all our worship, all our religious acts, they are also directed towards that whatever thing, people, or happy or places we have established our happiness in. So we ask in our prayers that if I get this, I'll be happy. So God, give me this. So if I achieve this part of if I achieve this thing in my life, I will be happy. So Vaheguru, grant me my wish. So all these prayers had made us beggars. Guru Nanak Sahib says, once you start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, That means you absorb in divine virtues of contentment within. You know that the outer world, the things, the people, the circumstances outside, they are temporary, they are bound to change. So, any pain or pleasure associated with those things, people, and circumstances are also temporary, they are also bound to change. So, all our reading, all our acquiring wisdom should be uh, a task of inner improvement. So, what shall I ask from that divine who lives throughout is the realization that the source of real peace is always within me. The outer world is a subject to change, always. So, how to remain in an equilibrium, in a calm, in a peaceful state, in all the changing times outside. So that is contentment we are asking for. So once we start accepting the inner divine, the real guru who's already within us, we find that realization of inner peace, and we do not wander. Paaveh means wander, and pick is begging. So we don't wander here and there throughout in our religious acts outside in the world and begging for something. That means we find the real contentment, true contentment within us, and all that dissatisfaction and discontentment from our life, it goes away once we start accepting the guidance of the inner divine. So accepting the guidance of the inner divine, we leave desiring happiness and liberation in outer accomplishments. So that's why we are always begging, because we think that outer accomplishment, outer achievements, they are going to bring some kind of happiness and liberation. But the liberation we are talking about in this body is Mannai, Paaveh, mokh, Duaar. Liberation is from all those inner vices, inner negativity. That means that liberation will help within us. So it has nothing to do with outer accomplishments. So here it doesn't mean that Guru Nanak is or Sikhi or Gurmat is talking about leaving everything outside. There should be no hope, or you should not put any effort to achieve anything outside. It's not altogether about that. So outer world is outside. We live there. We have our families. We have our responsibilities. We need to earn money. We need to pay bills. It's all there. We have to live our life, and we must put efforts to live it comfortably, live it beautifully, purposefully. But within us, in the inner world, within our inner family, are we at peace or not? Are we over investing ourselves in the outer world? That's the thing. So when we overly attach and overly invest our energies in outer things, what happens? We lose the kingdom of peace within. We lose that inner peace. We lose that inner contentment. But on the other hand side, what Guru Nanak wants us to do is to start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, to find peace and contentment within during all the different stages of life outside. So, whatever is happening outside, it should not disturb your inner peace. It should not affect in any way your internal or inner contentment. And that's what Guru Nanak Sahib is saying here. So, accepting the guidance of the inner divine, what happens? We are liberated from all that unending desires of happiness and liberation in outer accomplishment. Because, see, there's a beautiful line in Hindi I read long ago, that what happens? We establish our happiness in people, in things, in circumstances outside. Nothing wrong in it. But what happens once we achieve, we accomplish, or we get that thing, person, or circumstance, or time in our in our life, we may rejoice for a little time, but then that happiness or joy, it shifts from that thing to another which is not with us right now. So that happiness keeps on jumping from one place, one thing, one person to another. And then what happens? We are always discontented and dissatisfied. But Guru Nanak Sahib says, what you have to do is, you have to seek that happiness, that peace, that liberation within you. Once it's achieved within, and you realize that outside, loss and profit, failure and success, joys and sorrows, adversity and prosperity, these all will keep on happening. They will keep on coming and going in our lives outside. It always happen. You cannot stop that. All you can do is, by turning towards the inner divine, you can live a life where you are at peace within, even when it's chaos outside, or you will be calm within, even when you have got everything outside in the world. So, that inner contentment, that inner equilibrium will help you to maintain your goodness in the outer good times, as well as to maintain your contentment level to your and your goodness even in the bad times we see in the outer world, or the challenging times we say. So we remain on the same strength. We realize that we are not powerless. We know that all this up and down of life, they come and go. It always is like that, but from within we are at peace always, and we leave that begging, we leave that discontentment when we start accepting the guidance of the inner divine. So whole of this body talks about Mannai, Paaveh, mokh, Duaar. We we realize that liberation from negativity and vices when we start accepting the guidance of the inner divine. Our Because our inner family of thoughts, senses, emotions, our intellect, mind, it all finds that support, that ground in that divine guidance to raise, to go, to liberate itself from the vices. And through the teachings, through the instructions of the inner guru, it helps us to swim to the other side, or that means liberation from the vices, the ocean of vices. And once we start accepting the guidance of the inner divine, we liberate ourselves from that discontentment, and we do not wander in begging happiness in outer achievements or things, although we put efforts to everything in our life, and then we enjoy that peace of that goodness within us, that yes, we have been blessed with that energy, that ability to do good in our life. So whatever happens outside is, it's everything is not in our own control, so there's no need to wander in that pikya, in that begging or unending desires always. So contentment doesn't mean that I don't need anything in my life. Contentment means to appreciate whatever I have at this moment, while putting efforts to have a better future outside. So ऐसा नाम निरंजन होए. Naam here is the Hukam. Hukam is the guidance of the inner divine. So the guidance of the inner divine is such Niranjan, such pious, pure, unblemished, that Jeko man jane, whosoever accepts that guidance in their own mind becomes pure, pious, unblemished, like the guidance of the inner divine. We become. Here is a summary for last 8 bodies, because all these 8 bodies, they talk about listening and accepting. So here I have made a summary here. So first thing is, listening and accepting is complementary. 4 bodies among these 8 bodies are about listening. Sunaya Siddh Pir Surna, Sunaya Tartavale Akas, and then comes Mannai ki gat kahi na jaye. So although Guru Nanak has divided into Sune and Mannai two different sections, but both of them, they are complementary. That listening without accepting is a waste. Whatever you are listening, if you do not accept it, if you do not implement into your life, then it's a waste. And on the other hand, accepting without listening is a blunder. You can see in your own outer circle. If someone accepts without listening what is being said, that means the person has not listened anything. So we have to listen to the inner divine and to accept it, to implement that guidance into our own life. All eight bodies are about listening and accepting the inner divine. So whether Guru Nanak Sahib is talking about Sune Siddh Pir Surnath, that we achieve perfection within us when we listen, that means it's also about accepting the guidance of the inner divine. You become perfect, Siddh Pir Surnath, and higher knowledge comes to you within. Secondly, what all happens by listening and accepting the inner divine in these eight bodies? So we get rid of inner impurities, vices, evil thoughts. So even in the last body we discussed today, so Paaveh mokh Duaar, the real freedom, the liberation comes to us, and that is the liberation or mukti from vices and evil thoughts. We discover the beauty of the divine virtues within. All those virtues have been discussed in all these eight bodies. So Sunaya said the Pir Surna, Sunaya Isar Burma and the Sunaya Mukh Sala Hanmad. So those virtues, they come within us. We find the real and true companion, guide, that Oankar within us. Aisa Naam Niranjan hoye, that Niranjan, that unblemished creator who lives within us, who's never wrong, always providing us the guidance, that real divine self, the true divine self. So once we start listening and accepting, we turn towards that real companion within us, the real guide, and then we realize our true potential and worth, that we are not powerless. That creator, that Onkar has blessed us with this ability. That divine self within us is too powerful that we can use it for that liberation. There remains no need of pretense for approval of the world. Mannai, if you remember the Pauri where Guru Nanak Sahib says, Mannai magana challe panth, Mannai dharm seti sanbandh, because you have realized the true potential, the true companion within you, then there remains no need to pretense of that outer pretense for the approval of the outer world, that people shall know that I am a very spiritual and religious person. Because now you have turned towards the inner divine, you have started listening and accepting it. You know what is the right thing to do. It's not about what people say, it's not about the approval of the world. Because if you are doing right as per the voice of your conscience, then it's always right. There remains no need for any approval or certification from outside. Inner liberation leads to inner peace and contentment. Mannai Nanak Paaveh Napik. There remains no wandering in and begging outside in things, people, and circumstances to get something, that happiness. So the real source of happiness, inner peace, eternal bliss is always within us. Once we turn towards it, once we start listening and accepting that inner divine, that divine self of ours, we find inner peace and contentment. And let's have your reflections and your questions. Thank you so much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.